We have a little thing I want you to react to.
When people sidestep that and say, okay, I'm not going to get into university debt, I'm just going to go off and actually figure out how the world works, there's actually loads of opportunities.
Okay, so I guess we've sorted it then. All of our viewers need to do is go and buy Dan's book, become an entrepreneur and become a millionaire. It's that easy. Why weren't you guys doing it to begin with? They're idiots. The viewers are idiots. They should be just being more entrepreneurial. It's as simple as that. More entrepreneurial, start a business. Listen, I come from East London, okay? My friends can't feed their kids, okay? And if it was as simple as going out and being an entrepreneur, I can bet you they would do it. I can bet you they would do it. I'm sick of multimillionaires telling kids who can't afford to turn the heating on, you just need to be more entrepreneurial. It's sick, Dan. It's sick. But this gives people mental illness. It gives people mental illness. Tell them the truth, okay? We, your older generation, we took the opportunities and now it is almost impossible to get out of poverty. And don't just stand up there and wave, your millions of pounds in front of them and say, if you were entrepreneurial like me, you could do it. You could have it. Because it's sick because they can't. They can't feed their kids, Dan. They can't turn the heating on. Don't tell them to be more entrepreneurial. Fix the system that drives more and more and more of them into poverty every generation.
I find it very strange. I've got a bit of trauma from from being around Gary. Yeah. Gary gives me anxiety.
I could see almost a recoil.
Oh, yeah,
that gives you depression.
Yeah, that particular point. What's the question, or did you just want to trigger me?
No, I just wanted to hear what would be your...
Well, I mean, he says at the end, fix the system. How? How do you want to fix the system? Because when you ask him, how do you want to fix the system? He says, subscribe to my YouTube channel and I'll tell you what to do in the future. That's what he said at the end of the debate. So he's just screaming, I'm sick of it, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm sick of it too. We need to fix the system. Okay, what do you want to do? So one of his main solutions is wealth taxes. So there's so many problems with wealth taxes. They've been tried 15 times across Europe. They got rolled back 11 times. And these are like socialist countries that rolled them back because they just don't work. They cause a wealth exodus. It's impossible to quantify what is wealth. Because on any given day, markets fluctuate up and down. People then take evasive action to fluctuate the value of their assets down.
Could I get credits because my portfolio always goes down?
Yeah, you could. Right? No, under Gary's law, you can't.
Probably
right?
not under Gary's law.
Oh, okay.
You should be able to, but not under Gary's.
Gary just looks at you and says, you look too rich. We're going to take what you've got, right? He's very clear about just wanting to punish the rich for being rich. Look, every time these kind of socialist ideas. I've got lots of friends who grew up in Eastern Europe where they tried all of these redistribution methods, and they tried wealth taxes and they tried super high taxes, and it crashed their economy. A great example is Poland. Poland was one of the poorest countries under socialism in the whole of Europe, and now after 40, 50 years of capitalism, it's one of the wealthiest countries. It's the fastest growing. Poland is out of all of Europe, Poland is the one country that is sticking most closely to capitalist principles, and their economy is booming. So free markets, what sucks is that socialism sounds like a really great idea, but it delivers horrific results. Capitalism sounds like a horrific idea, and it actually delivers amazing results. So we have this issue where, Gary's screaming, fix the system, Dan, just fix the system. Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because ultimately, what he's describing is, the UK government has already done high taxes, and it's been a disaster. We found out this week that we've collected 15 billion less than we were expecting for the last period, I think 90 days. So 15 billion of taxes wiped out because high tax rates equal lower taxes collected.
It's funny you mentioned that. In Los Angeles, they just enacted a measure called ULA, which is basically a mansion tax. Any property over $5 million in the city or county of Los Angeles subject to this additional tax of 5%. So if it's $4.9 million, no tax. If it's $5 million, a $1 extra, there's a 5% tax on that. They thought that it would raise all this extra revenue that they could then put towards the homeless problem of Los Angeles. After a year of going through this, they raised substantially less revenue, even though they had a higher tax on those properties, simply because people said, I'm not going to sell.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to pay it. Or I'm going to structure my property differently so that it sells under the $5 million amount. And so maybe it's worth 5.2, but I'm going to sell it for 4.9 and then throw in the furniture for that extra little bit. And those are two separate transactions.
Or genuinely, the market just moves down.
Yeah.
Like the buyers won't pay over $5 million themselves.
Yeah.
So
everything's shifted downwards.
Yeah.
Those 5.1 properties are worth 4.8.
And also people have choice. So I know that plenty of people have moved out of California and they've come here to Vegas.
That's what we've done.
Yeah. Joe Rogan. I mean, how much did it just cost California to lose Joe Rogan? Tens of millions. Elon has moved his head office out to Texas. So, I mean, these are the high profile examples, but there's thousands of these happening every month where smaller businesses, and also accounting firms, they go and set you up in Delaware. You might live in California, but your company is over in a different place, So, it's very easy to say, it's easy to win tennis, just slam the ball as hard as you can and ace the other player. Okay, but you're up against the Roger Federers of the world. They can return the serve. They know how to. They play tennis too. So whatever the government comes up with, remembering this, the brightest people don't work for government. The dumbest, laziest people work for government. So the smartest, hardest working people don't work for government. So the idiots come up with rules, and then the smart people go, this is just how we get around those rules.
I liked your advice though. When your response to Gary, and you said, if I heard your advice when I was younger, I never would have started. I would have been so discouraged by what you have to say that I wouldn't have even tried and I wouldn't be here today. And I agree with you. When I was younger, I would look to other people. Tim Ferriss was a huge inspiration with his book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Me too.
And his example of a guy in Malibu making $60,000 a month and being able to drive his Lamborghini down PCH. And I remember reading this at
silly,
18, 17 years old.
It makes a big difference.
It just thinking that that's possible.
Yeah.
Just open the opportunity that now I think, wow, if this guy could do it, I could do it too.
It's interesting. I think it was a couple of your how I make X amount per month on YouTube videos that for me motivated me to be like, okay, well, if this guy can do it, I feel like I could get involved too, and I could start making money. And it's funny because now he can't make those videos because people are like, you're just bragging. You're just, but
it's interesting.
The amount of comments on those videos that were positive, where people were like, I couldn't believe you could make this on YouTube. And it's inspired me to start my own business, to get on YouTube, to make a brand for myself. Can't make them anymore.
It's interesting. It worked up into a certain degree, and then beyond a certain point,
you hit a critical mass.
It's either that I can't provide new value because everything is exactly the same and there's nothing new I could say about it, or it becomes an amount that just becomes unattainable or unrelatable to people, and then it just almost serves the exact opposite intention as I meant for it.
Yeah, look, young men are pretty simple creatures. We need to have a pathway to get ahead, and I think a lot of people are angry because the traditional pathways just aren't working, and I get that. The problem with Gary and I, we were talking past each other. There was parts where we're talking about the system, and then we're talking about the impact of that on personal individuals, and because of the emotions were running hot, and a lot of curiosity had evaporated out of the room at that point. The best conversations are where everyone is at the table with a spirit of curiosity. Let's see if we can come together. Because an amazing conversation would have been, Gary, you've got a great point. Let's brainstorm how we could fix, you want to fix the system, let's talk about it. And let's put all options on the table. Hey, Dan, you've got a good point that wealthy people can just get up and leave. Let's think about how we could potentially, fix the system in some way. So, and also let's look at what the underlying cause. The underlying cause is technology. You've got to keep that in mind. The reason this is all happening is we all used to live in walled gardens, special little walled gardens. So a town was a walled garden. It was very, very unlikely that someone in Las Vegas had to compete with someone in Los Angeles, or had to compete with someone in the Philippines, or had to compete with a tech product in Silicon Valley. Right up until even 2010, that was probably not happening. But today, if you're setting up a business, a traditional business, it's very likely that there is a remote working solution, that there is a interstate solution, that there is a tech solution. So we pulled out the walls of the walled garden. We basically said, everyone here is in competition with everyone there. Because, by the way, in the last 20 years, incomes have exploded in the developing world. You go to southern parts of, Bangalore or southern India, they've gone from maybe $20, $30 a day to $10, $15 an hour. in a fairly short space of time. Same as the Philippines. The Philippines economy is growing at 6, 7, 8% per year, and money's pouring into those places because of technology has made remote working a viable option. So if you imagine that the bathtub has a big divider in the middle, and this half's full and this half's empty, if you pull that divider out, it's going to equalize. Same sort of thing. If you have a protected class of people in the USA and the developing world or technology over here, and you pull the divider out, this one's going to go down and this one's going to come up.
So you're saying that divider in that analogy would be technology, but technology...
No, the divider is geography, right? Geography kept everyone separate.
But the thing that pulls the divider out
yeah,
would be
the
technology.
thing that pulled it out is technology.
Right. So that's kind of the solution that causes this fission between those who are successful and those who are not successful. But technology is still somewhat of an external variable. If you were to draw this to a more internal approach, what would you say is the main variable that differentiates between those who are successful and those who are not? Would it be motivation problem, a knowledge problem?
Let me start right at the beginning. Okay. So first thing you want to do is you want to work for a company that has less than 10 employees and you get to work with the founder. This is if you want, by the way, this is if you want to go on that journey. I'm not saying everyone should or can, but this is if you want to do this. So rule number 1 is get yourself around a mentor. So you have to find yourself a job with a company that has less than 12 people. There's a founder. They have regular team meetings. You get first-hand contact with the founder. You're in an environment where you can see what's going on. The problem with big companies is they just put you over here. They isolate you. You have no idea how things actually work. Inside a company of less than 12 people, you actually get to see, this is how we make sales, this is how much we spend on ads, this is how we deal with customer complaints, this is how we keep customers happy. So all that stuff is visible to you, so you're going to learn a lot. There's 3 things that you're trying to build. You're trying to build self-awareness, so you learn about yourself. Commercial awareness, you learn about what makes money, and access to resources. You know where to get stuff. You know how to get technology, you know how to raise money if you need it, you know how to run ad campaigns if you want to run ad campaigns, you know how to do a joint venture deal, right? So self-awareness, commercial awareness, and access to resources. So you're trying to do that through work. The purpose of work now is to get those 3 things. That's why you go to work, for those 3 things. Once you've got those 3 things, you then want to do little mini side hustles that are open and shut within 90 days. So side hustles with 90-day open and shut windows. So what you might do is say, I'm going to run a nightclub party, right? Or I'm going to sell 500 hoodies on Etsy, or I'm going to take on 3 clients who I can provide a service to. Or I'm going to do a setup service, right? So you're going to come up with little mini projects to see what works and what doesn't work. So for me personally, at my time when I was 18, I was selling roses door to door, and I would buy the roses for 40 cents and sell them for $4. That was one little side hustle. I did underage nightclub parties. So we did nightclub parties for 14 to 17-year-olds, and that was amazing. I did all the usual stuff like car washes and garage sales and all of those kind of things. So whatever it is, you're trying to come up with a 90-day experiment for you to actually see how you do in that space. So
you've identified it basically as a knowledge issue. If people had the proper knowledge, then they would be successful.
Yeah, so there's self-awareness, which is understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, understanding your skills, understanding whether you're an A player, a B player, or C player yet, right? So there's that. There's commercial skills or commercial awareness and commercial skills, so that your ability to execute things. And the reason you need those 3. You can't just have 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. You have to have those 3 things.